Hi, everyone. My name is Cherie DeVos, and I'm the Prevention Programs Coordinator with ADAC Youth and Family Services, or Anti-Drug and Alcohol Crusaders Incorporated. So this workshop today is about the Parent Handbook, the community-based program through MAD's parent program, Power of Parents. So I'm really excited for this opportunity to present this presentation because at ADAC, we do believe that the problems associated with underage drinking can be prevented by educating parents about their influence on their teens and equipping them with the conversational tools to talk with their teens, begin having conversations with their teens about alcohol and the dangers of underage drinking. So before we get into the content of the presentation, just a bit about ADAC and who we are and what we do. So Anti-Drug and Alcohol Crusaders Incorporated was founded in 1987 and is a community-based organization whose focus is to provide a safe and nurturing environment, or a safe haven, while fostering the holistic growth of Philadelphia's youth. So our mission at ADAC is to nurture youth ages 5 to 18 and their families physically, emotionally, and socially through a wide array of educational, social, cultural, and recreational programs that support growth, strong family ties, and positive community networks. Our vision and purpose are to break the cycle of trauma and pain from addiction, violence, and other unhealthy behaviors in order to maximize our youth's opportunities to make positive choices in their lives and become respectful, productive, and contributing members of their families, of their communities, and of society. So what we do at ADAC, over the years, ADAC has serviced thousands of individuals and generations of families by providing youth educational, recreational, OST programming or out of school time programming, such as our after school program, day camps, Saturday Youth Academy, and summer camp. And we recently added virtual after school activities and a virtual summer camp to our programming. ADAC also provides alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs awareness or ATOD awareness, career readiness, parent empowerment courses, healthy meals, social emotional support, community resources and referrals, and more. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do at ADAC and who we are, you can check out our social media pages, which we'll include at the end of this presentation. And who we serve. Lastly, we serve youth ages 5 to 18, their families and communities across Philadelphia. So MAD, what is MAD? So MAD was founded by a mother whose daughter was killed by a drunk driver. So Mothers Against Drunk Driving is the nation's largest nonprofit working to protect families from drunk driving and underage drinking. With the help of those who want a safer future, MAD's campaign to eliminate drunk driving will end this danger on America's roads. Power Talk 21 is a national day for parents to talk with their kids about alcohol using the proven strategies of Power of Parents to reduce the risk of underage drinking. And as one of the largest victim services organizations in the United States, MAD also supports drunk and drug driving victims and survivors at no charge, serving one person every 8 minutes through local MAD victim advocates and at this number here, 1-877-MAD-HELP. And if you'd like to learn more, you can visit www.mad.org or by calling 1-877-ASK-MAD, M-A-D-D. So what are the objectives of this presentation today? 1, talk about the problem of teen drinking. 2, talk about the role of peers in the problem of teen drinking. 3, talk about the role of adults in this problem. 4, talk about the role of parents in MAD and preventing this problem in underage individuals. And 5, lastly, talk about the handbook and what you can do today, tomorrow, and in the future to prevent teen drinking. So basically it starts right now, with this presentation, with us, with you, with each one of us, because we all have the power to make a difference in, our teens' lives and in the lives of, those teens that we have around us. So here's a video that provides brief information about the effect of drinking on the underage brain and the adolescent brain.
age is the human brain mature enough to handle alcohol? New research shows underage drinking can cause permanent damage to a teen's brain, harming memory, judgment, reasoning, and impulse control, which shouldn't be a surprise, since an adolescent's brain is still developing almost as fast as an infant's.
Get the facts.
So that was, good, quick information about how underage drinking can really harm the adolescent brain, which is, very much still developing into the 20s. So to, look more into the problem of teen drinking, parents just, want to talk about how parents, can often be concerned with, the more well-known illicit or illegal drugs, like marijuana, and other unknown drugs, which their teen can be exposed to, whether it's in the school, in the community, the neighborhood, etc. However, alcohol is the most commonly used drug by youth, even more so than tobacco, more than marijuana or any other illicit drug combined. Um, and to look at these facts here, teen alcohol use kills about 5,000 people each year. And about 30% or almost 1/3 of eighth graders have tried alcohol in their lifetimes. Also, 1 in 6 teens binge drink, and over 2 in 3 teens try alcohol before graduating high school. So teen drug use often starts with alcohol and is often abused in combination, with other drugs. So our focus today is on teen drinking. So the tips and information incorporated in the resources that you'll receive later in this presentation will also be helpful to you as you navigate having these discussions with your teen as you start talking about this topic. Also, 40 to 45% of college-age kids admit to engaging in binge drinking. So national surveys show that the younger people are when they first become intoxicated, the greater the likelihood that they'll have an alcohol dependence while in college and will engage in risky behaviors such as driving after drinking, riding with drunk drivers, or having unplanned, unprotected sex after drinking. So the evidence is clear and shows that the problem begins long before college. The problem of teen drinking is established earlier in the teen years. So next we'll look at some data from the 2017 PACE survey. And the PACE survey is, or the Pennsylvania Youth Survey is a survey given by the Commonwealth to 6, 8, 10, and 12 grade students throughout Pennsylvania to learn about their behaviors, their attitudes, and their knowledge around alcohol, tobacco, other drugs, and violence. So according to the 2017 the Philadelphia specific county PACE, 632 6 to 12 graders were asked questions about risky behaviors. The results of the survey were that 12% of eighth graders have used alcohol in the past 30 days, and there was no change in this from 8 years before. 10th graders, the use in 10th graders had decreased by 20 points, and 12th grade down by 10 points. Binge drinking hovered at about 16.8% for 12th graders, which went down 8 points from 4 years before. However, 10th graders jumped up 6 points up to 13%. And finally, a third of 12th graders say that they get alcohol by their parents giving it to them. So this is interesting because this is also interesting in the fact that a third of sixth graders say that they get it from a restaurant or a sporting event. So not in the home, but they get it, out at a public place. So this is just, a bit of data showing and, talking about exposure to, alcohol and underage drinking and what those habits are like in, Philadelphia youth. So alcohol and the teen brain. So, next we'll look at some brain changes during adolescence. And, before we get into this, I just want to stress that I am not an expert in neuroscience or brain development in adolescent years. But this is a small summary of some of the brain science that's available as it relates to underage drinking. So the adolescent brain is still developing, and some parts actually do not finish developing into the mid 20s. So the brain, develops from the back to the front. So the back controlling basic functions, to the front, or the prefrontal cortex, which is, controlling executive functions. So that front part of the brain that controls planning, decision-making, self-control, is the last part of the brain to develop. So if we look at the image to the left here, the brain images show how alcohol can harm the teen mental functions. So compared with a young non-drinker, a 15-year-old with an alcohol problem showed poor brain activity during a memory task. So this finding is, noted by the lack of pink and red coloring in that image on the right there. Next, to get into the role of peers in teen drinking. So parents often worry about their child's peers giving their kids drinks, or maybe a group of friends applying social pressure to their child to drink. But what parents really should worry less about is their teen associating with this bad kid, quote unquote, and really focus on helping correct their child's misperception that everyone is drinking. So kids can learn skills to avoid or resist direct social pressure, but the bigger influence from peers can come from normalizing this misperception that, everyone is drinking, so I should do it too, or everyone is drinking and, they're okay, so there's nothing wrong with me doing it as well, which is really inaccurate because everyone is not drinking. Every teen is not drinking. So from the earlier slide of statistics, it can be seen that there are higher rates of teen drinking, but at earlier ages, where prevention is more likely, the majority of students do not drink. So for example, 70% of 8th grade students, has not tried alcohol, and 5 out of 6 students do not binge drink. So again, the focus of parents should be to direct their focus on what the real problem is, not protecting kids from the quote unquote bad kid, or the bad friend, or the bad influence in the school who tries to get them to drink, but really, in actuality, this false belief that everyone is drinking, because that's not the truth. Okay, so, and to look into, the role of adults in teen drinking. There are some adults who think that, allowing kids to drink small amounts of alcohol in the home will, teach them to drink safely. But the research on this, just, it doesn't show this to be the case. So it's important for parents to know that not only is this illegal in most states, giving your underage child alcohol, but multiple studies in both the United States and in Europe have consistently shown that kids who are permitted to drink in their homes drink more often and in larger amounts outside the home when their parents are not around. And when we look at this, in comparison to other drugs, there are no other drugs that adults would consider giving to kids, in supervised settings that lower their risk of using it outside the home. Other drugs that have such a large impact on brain function. So to be specific, most adults wouldn't think to give their child painkillers or cocaine in, small doses here and there, to, familiarize them with it, to get them experience with it. But many will do this with alcohol. So, as we can see from this, the problem of underage drinking, it turns out to really be an adult problem. It's about the adult influence on the child. So, in the next slide, we'll look at how parents can be the solution to what is really an adult problem of underage drinking. So parents can have, a really huge impact on underage drinking. However, only 1 in 100 parents believe his or her child binge drinks. So many parents don't see the importance of talking to their kids about alcohol. And research supports the idea that parent communications about drinking can have a tremendous effect on preventing underage drinking. So 3 out of 14 say their parents are the leading influence on their decisions about drinking. Again, 3 out of 14 say their parents are the leading influence on their decisions about drinking. So this is a really significant number. So MAD partnered with Dr. Robert Teresi from Penn State University to adapt his parent handbook to empower parents to communicate with and influence their teens in the topic of underage drinking. So the goal of this handbook is really not to judge parents or to tell them how to parent. It doesn't represent any single person's individual beliefs or biases. However, it's a compilation of 20 years worth of research to provide information to parents to help them make parenting decisions for their kids. So really the bottom line is that, parents who have to talk soon, talk sooner rather than later, talk now, today. Parents who have lost teens, to alcohol, when asked what they would do if they had to do it all over again, say they would have made their message clear and communicated with their kids about alcohol and the danger, the consequences of drinking alcohol. So just, to talk a little bit about Casey Taylor and his story, just gonna, say a bit about that. So these are words from Casey's mother, Debbie Taylor. And she said, Casey, my eldest, was what you call a good kid. On honor roll and marching band and choir, he wrestled and played football. Casey's father had a drinking problem, and Casey knew it contributed to our divorce. They gave me a false sense of security. I believed he had seen the problems alcohol could cause and was mature enough to handle drinking, but I was wrong. Casey was 18 the night he and his friends stopped at a drive-up liquor establishment that didn't card underage buyers. They bought rum and decided it would be fun to see how much just one person could chug. That person was Casey. Around noon the next day, a police officer came to my door. It was the standard conversation. I'm sorry to inform you that your son Casey has died. No, that can't be right, I said. It took 2 days for the coroner to get back to me and confirm that Casey's blood alcohol content was 0.41, more than 5 times the legal limit. If I had to do it all over again, I would have made my message very clear. When I found that bottle of rum Casey had hidden in his garage, in my garage, I would not have thrown it away and said nothing like I did. I would have taken it out and set it on my kitchen counter. Then we would have discussed why I did not want him drinking, sitting there and looking at each other. I would have spoken to him about alcohol more often. So these are words, again, from Debbie Taylor, Wyoming. So let's get into the parent handbook and, the resources that are included in the parent handbook. So one of the topics covered is your teen's world. So teens are hanging in a really fine balance between their desires for freedom and independence and the maturity and capability of handling both. So teens often think in the here and now without regard for consequences. They are also strongly influenced by their peers, so good decision making is a challenge for them at their age. Teens are also strongly influenced by peers and include peers in decision making processes. They also think in the here and now and take more risks without recognizing the far-reaching or even immediate consequences. So the handbook, the Empowered Parents, handbook, provides insight and tips on how to help your teen become a better problem solver and a better decision maker, given all the different challenges, the different changes that are going on as they transition from children to young adults. Also, the parent handbook gets into parenting styles and explores, the type of parenting style that you may have. So a brief overview of parenting styles is provided in the handbook and also in this presentation. So research has been done on the types of parenting styles and how they relate to the decisions that one's kids can make about alcohol. So this slide provides an overview and how different parenting styles can impact underage drinking in different ways. However, it's important to still note that the focus is not to paralyze parents into thinking that, their particular parenting style is good or bad, but it's, to provide the evidence from the research and to let parents choose the style that is best for their family. The point is to understand that as a parent, you can make a difference in your child's life, depending on the influence that you assert on your child. So the parenting styles here, authoritarian, and the attribute of that is that a parent gives orders. A common saying that we may all be familiar with is, it's my way or the highway. So that's kind of, a trait of an authoritarian parenting style. Also overprotective. So a parent stays in control, parent rushes in, and teens, they don't have to face the consequences of their actions. Something goes wrong, the parent will take care of it. Permissive, so the parent gives in easily, so kids will be kids, shrug shoulders, everything's will be okay. Positive or authoritative. So these parents, they use their authority to strengthen and protect, not control, but to protect their teen. They build trust and teach the teen skills to make decisions. We can see that the parenting style, authoritarian, and the effects on drinking decisions. Teens of authoritarian parents tend to consume the most dangerously high levels of alcohol. And on the other hand, positive or authoritative parenting styles has the effect that teens of these types of parents, if they do drink illegally, consume significantly less alcohol than teens of other parenting styles. So, it's really just important to recognize the difference that positive or authoritative parenting and communication styles can make in empowering and protecting teens. Okay, and now the parent handbook also gets into, talking with your teen about alcohol and provides, techniques for having these conversations with your teen. So this is, talking to your teen is more than just a one-time conversations, and, parents should feel free to initiate the dialogue. So the handbook provides these techniques and stresses the importance of setting clear and appropriate rules and consequences about alcohol. Some parents think that, teaching overall values is enough, but it's really very important to have specific and ongoing conversations with your teen about alcohol whenever you get the chance and as often as possible. So the handbook also addresses how to handle questions about, their parents' own history of underage drinking in this section. If children have questions, then parents can, answer those questions as guided by the parent handbook. Also, helping your teen make good decisions. So when it comes to dealing with peers, your teen will need, of course, pointers and, guidance as to how to respond to the pressure to drink. So this section here gives alternatives to discuss with teens the reasons they may choose to drink, such as drinking alcohol to celebrate, or the reason drinking alcohol to celebrate, and the alternative, celebrate by going out to dinner with some friends. So, the reason to drink and presenting them with the alternative, what can you do instead of drinking? So again, it's important to remember that it's illegal for teens to drink alcohol, and it's illegal for teens to drink any amount of alcohol and drive. So, and also MAD supports a zero tolerance approach to underage drinking. So it's important to, continue stressing this. It's important for parents to set clear rules and consequences around drinking before the age of 21, including never riding in a car with any driver under the age of 18 who's been drinking. And parents, you can stress alternatives to this. If you're out somewhere and a peer of yours is drinking, they're under the age of 21, or anyone who's been drinking and, decides to drive, the parent handbook suggests alternatives. You can present your child with those alternatives. What can you do in this situation? Car crashes are the leading death, and many of us may be familiar with this, statistic, that car crashes are the leading cause of death for teens, and 1 out of 3 of those deaths is alcohol related. You can really discuss with teens, the legal and physical outcomes of driving under the influence, as well as riding with an impaired driver. So when you're having these conversations, not just talking about the ramifications on your child's health, but also the legal consequences. It's illegal. So what will happen if your teen is caught driving while under the influence? And then finally, in the parent handbook, there's a section for parents who suspect or fear that their child might already have a drinking problem. So it addresses that as well. So here's the what it looks like when you visit the site. That link there at the bottom. The resources that are available to download. You can download the parent handbook online at www.mad.org. The solution, Empower Parents. So all of these resources are available on the site to download. But just to share a bit about the research behind this program, with you, this slide discusses the impact that the handbook has and ongoing conversations that are happening, and what impact that those conversations have in reducing the outcome of underage drinking. So as we can see in this graph, or this chart. The treatment group is shown by the red bars, and the treatment group are the teens whose parents received the parent handbook that we're talking about today. The control group, shown by the black bars, are the ones who did not. So data is shown as the number of drinks on average across a weekend. So we can see that the red bars are significantly lower. So when parents read and use the handbooks to talk to their teens about alcohol, their teens end up drinking less. So to just, sum up and close out, listed, I'm sorry, the evidence is clear, so you can read the handbook. Also be willing to start talking to your teens about alcohol. Plan the first conversation with your teens about alcohol, and just continue having the conversations, not one time, but continuously. When you get the opportunity, sit down, talk to your teen, have small conversations here and there, and really talk about the consequences of underage drinking. And again, as we said before, it really starts right now. There's no time like the present to start talking about underage drinking with your children. So that ends the presentation, and I just want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found this information helpful and that you feel empowered to start having these important conversations about the dangers and the consequences of underage drinking with your child or with your children. So here's how you can contact us at ADAC if you have any questions or concerns. And again, my name is Cherie DeVos, and thank you so much for tuning in to this Power Parents presentation.